We've seen, thousands of people arrested across the country since the regulations were initially announced at various levels. Are they as clear-cut as we all assume they are?
Well, not from my perspective, and it might also be because I nitpick, because that's my job. But if you read Regulation 34.2, it says that the wearing of a face mask is mandatory for every person except a child under 6.
Yeah.
And any person who fails to comply with a verbal instruction by an enforcement officer commits an offence. So my reading of this regulation, it is, only once you fail to comply with a verbal instruction from an enforcement officer, then that is an offence.
So the simple act of not wearing a mask is in and of itself not enough to get you arrested.
Well, it seems to me that way if I read that regulation. Some people will argue, well, in Regulation 47.2, it says any person who fails to comply with a provision, commits an offence, and in that provision it's 34.2, which can include the wearing of a face mask that is mandatory. But the problem is, Bongani, and this is the angle that I come in from, that when you manage a pandemic, there are certain principles that must be adhered to, and then in general as well, but I think specifically in a pandemic. And the one that's very important to me is that there must be legal certainty and clarity, and, the public must know what they must do and must not do, and we also would like to know why. In many instances. So the rules must be very clear, especially if it creates a crime like this, because, if you're not sure what the rule is, it's difficult to adhere to it, but also when it gets to the courts, and there are two possible interpretations to these regulations, the court will choose the one that's less onerous on the accused, because it creates a crime and it's got dire consequences. So I think, it would be great just to have clarity.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.